Now at 9, we'll hear from a local business owner about the rapidly rising cost of eggs. Plus a look at the next phase of renovations for Pittsburgh's historic Fox Colonial Theater. And
more potentially classified documents have been found, but this time they're connected to President Biden. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. I'll have the latest coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. A suspect who claimed jealousy played a role in the murder of an Ottawa County, Oklahoma woman enters a plea deal agreement in federal court. Jimmy Kelly Jr. pleads guilty to second-degree murder and felon possession of a firearm. It is in connection with the death of 47-year-old Tony Elizabeth Moran. According to court documents, Kelly told authorities that he and Moran were in a relationship together and his wife became jealous. Kelly claimed Moran took a revolver to her head and shot herself. And he told investigators he was so upset that he then took the gun and shot her in the torso. Kelly could be sentenced to 20 to 30 years. For a full breakdown of events and court documents, download the KOAM News Now app. The price of eggs has been especially high in the new year, and it's impacting local businesses. KOAM's Carrie Worthen talks with a local resident and restaurant owner about the issue.
Around New Year's, everyone started wanting eggs. There was a big increase.
People are scrambling to their local residents who are raising their own chickens so they can get eggs. According to the USDA, the wholesale price for a dozen eggs rose up to 60 cents. That's before any markup at the grocery store. Experts say that the price increase stems from the avian flu cases in the United States. While there are no cases reported in this area, people are still feeling the effects of the price hike.
The eggs has gone about 3 to 4 times more than they was a year ago.
Local restaurants like Wetson's Route 66 Cafe in Baxter Springs orders 8 cases of eggs a week with 15 dozen eggs in each case. Owner Susan Weston said she had to raise her menu prices to help gap the price raise.
They have affected us some, and we have raised our prices, and that has taken care of most of it.
Carl Junction resident Tiffany Wheeler says with the cold weather, her chickens lay around 6 eggs a day, and there is a waiting list of 15 people already wanting to purchase eggs.
Within the last 2 weeks, I've sold 12 dozen.
Frizzles are my favorite. I know. They're so frizzly.
So whether you eat your eggs scrambled, fried, poached, or hard-boiled, the USDA officials say recent record-high egg prices shall soften. But it will take some time before this is reflected at your local grocery store. In Carl Junction, Carrie Worthen, KOAM News.
You can find a link to a USDA report on egg prices at KOAMNewsNow.com. All right, and now we move to weather, and Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy joins us.
Well, it actually turned out to be a pretty nice Tuesday for us today. Temperatures actually pressed record highs. We made it to 66, cold start 29, 69 is the record set back in 1990. So it is a warm day. It's still decent outside. You can see our southerly winds, and then they kind of switch over to an east in our northern counties. So we do have upper 30s to near 40 for the northern half, but still the southern half is sitting 50 to 55 degree range. The winds, southerly winds today really helped us warm up. And I do think again tomorrow we're going to be at least decently mild across the region. A lot of clouds, nothing underneath them. So we're going to stay dry tonight, but this is ahead of our next storm system, which is starting to develop out to our west. Through the overnight hours, we're going to kind of hang in the 40s, eventually down to about 42 degrees. We do have some rain chances in the forecast. We're going to look at that all coming up here in just a bit.
The next renovation for the Colonial Fox Theater is making sure the building meets all ADA standards. KOAM's Amber Jenkins spoke to the Board of Trustees of the Colonial Fox Theater about how restoring the theater can also restore downtown.
Established in 1920, the Colonial Fox Theater was the heart of downtown Pittsburgh.
It was a social hub for the community, and it was also a movie palace, which means that it was not only for movies, but also for stage, vaudeville, live productions as well.
The theater closed its doors in 1987. By 2006, locals created the Colonial Fox Theater Foundation to not only save it, but try and spark life back into downtown Pittsburgh.
We have spent years getting it dried in, sound, sturdy. up to code in the sense of, we're not in any kind of bad shape anymore. When we first got it, it was a real mess.
The Colonial Fox Theater says every great community deserves a great downtown. That's why after years of work and renovations, they pride themselves on being one of the contributing factors on what makes downtown Pittsburgh so great.
We saved this from the wrecking ball, and we helped kickstart Block 22. So it was really the Colonial Fox that, really started the whole downtown excitement.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't toot their own horn very often.
Planned renovations for the theater have experienced setbacks.
Well, as with anything, I think that with setbacks are time and money. Volunteers who have the time.
Did not help.
The pandemic put us back a couple years for sure.
Despite setbacks, trustees say the future is bright.
I mean, we can involve the entire city of Pittsburgh. We don't want to just use this venue just for us. We can include Memorial Auditorium, the Bicknell, and have huge citywide festivals. So when we get to talking about it, we get excited, and we really do have a working program.
Reporting in Pittsburgh, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Before the Fox Theater opens its doors, it needs to be up to ADA standards. The Board of Trustees plans to make use of the empty lot north of the theater to make the entrance and exit more accessible. Conservative Kansas legislators are pushing back harder on LGBTQ rights issues with a bill to ban gender-affirming care for transgender youth and plans to pursue limits on what's taught about gender and sexuality in public schools. The moves in the Republican-controlled legislature come after Democratic Governor Laura Kelly narrowly won re-election, despite repeated GOP attacks on her for vetoing measures restricting the transgender athletes. The Justice Department has another case of classified documents to review. This time they were found in an office closet used by President Biden during the time after he left the vice president's office. Republicans say the way the Justice Department handles this and a similar situation with former President Trump shows a double standard. Fox correspondent Lauren Blanchard has more from Washington.
I can't explain why Vice President Biden would have had those documents, and certainly I can't explain why President Trump had classified documents.
But someone is going to have to explain why another set of documents marked classified were found just before the midterm elections in November, this time in a D.C. office President Biden used before he launched his 2020 campaign. White House counsel says the documents were immediately turned over.
Any comment on the documents, sir?
The president so far staying quiet, though he will likely not be able to avoid questions at a press conference later Tuesday. The discovery is somewhat similar to an ongoing investigation with former President Trump and the hundreds of classified documents the FBI took in an early morning raid at his home in Florida last year. The former president alleges a double standard, writing, "When is the FBI going to raid the many homes of Joe Biden, perhaps even the White House? These documents were definitely not declassified." Republicans on Capitol Hill say they will use their new power in the House to hold the president accountable.
We'll have the subpoena power to get the people in we can ask the direct questions. This is serious.
While Democrats say they're leaving it up to the Justice Department.
This is not Mar-a-Lago, and this is not a president refusing a subpoena.
Attorney General Merrick Garland has turned the case over to a Trump-era U.S. attorney to handle the investigation. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor another four-state hero. Robert Rickerson served in the U.S. Army from 1945 to 1947. The El Dorado, Kansas native was stationed in Germany as a part of the 1st Division 16th Infantry. He received a World War II Victory Medal and an Army Occupation of Germany Medal. We salute Robert Rickerson, a four-state hero. Coming up, for the first time in 15 years, medical experts are updating childhood obesity guidelines, and we'll break them down. New guidelines released changing how childhood obesity is addressed. The guidelines now saying early treatment is more beneficial and that the traditional watchful waiting could make matters worse. Fox's Teresa Priolo has more.
It's the biggest change in the way the medical community views and treats childhood obesity in the last 15 years. The American Academy of Pediatrics telling parents and pediatricians to ditch the watchful waiting approach.
Obesity is associated with a number of very significant comorbid illnesses like high blood pressure, kidney disease, liver disease. As time goes on, these comorbid conditions become worse and more severe and cumulative. So the paradigm for watchful waiting, while it's tempting, it really is a bad idea.
For children and teens, obesity is defined as having a body mass index at or above the 95th percentile, meaning these kids are heavier than 95% of kids their age. That amounts to roughly 20% of children, or 15 million kids. The new guidance recommends acting fast with lifestyle and diet changes, medication, and even surgery.
When we look at surgical intervention, it actually results in not only a significant amount of weight loss, but a durable amount of weight loss.
The one problem, the new guidance puts much of the burden on your pediatrician. As it is, they're already pressed for time and overworked. Dr. Diane Hess is a pediatric obesity specialist.
If you read the studies, the successful programs required 26 hours of face-to-face counseling between a physician or a counselor with the parents and the child. I don't know many people who have 26 hours to do that.
In Dr. Hess's experience, much of the obesity she sees is rooted in other issues. Classifying it as a disease helps chip away at the problem.
We had to fight to get obesity classified as a disease because obesity has been considered a personal choice and a shameful choice. And we know that it's not. It has to do with genetics, and it has to do with lifestyle, and it has to do with socioeconomic status.
Chief Meteorologist Doug Cady is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later we'll hear from Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes on securing a first-round bye in the playoffs.
Well, definitely turned out to be a nice one today. Temperatures all the way up into the mid-60s for highs. We actually pushed record highs during the afternoon, which is always kind of nice, and it looks like we're going to be fairly warm once again tomorrow. But it looks good right now. We do have a lot of clouds. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort Indigo, just outside of Seneca, Missouri. A little bit cooler once you get into our northern counties, 40 in Iola, 38 Parsons, 41 Independence, and then you slide into the 50s once you get into southwest Missouri, also northeastern parts of Oklahoma. So there's about 10-degree spread. We've had these southerly winds, but you can see our northern counties have an easterly wind. So that's why it is just a little bit cooler. Outside, 7th and Rangeline sitting at 53, southerly winds at 6, humidity at 55%. Through the night, slide back through the 40s and down into the lower 40s for overnight lows a little bit later on tonight. All right, outside, we do have some clouds kind of shooting through. There's nothing underneath the clouds. This is just ground clutter, so we are dry. We're going to stay dry for us tonight as these clouds kind of shoot through. You can see a few showers well to our north, and then it looks like clouds are going to filter right back in with our next storm system, the western third of the country. That system will start to affect us tomorrow night and then into the daytime hours on Thursday. All right, so for tonight, we have clouds sticking around. They get out of here late tonight. We start with a little bit of sunshine, and then here come the clouds once again throughout the daytime hours. But look at this, upper 50s to near 60 by noon. We should go into the mid 60s during the afternoon. You can see some rain popping up late in the day. This should not be reaching the ground, but if you looked at a radar, you'd probably see it. It should evaporate before it reaches the ground. Day planner for you, 42 in the morning, 57 by noon. High temp right around 64, 65 degrees. Tomorrow night, we'll start to get showers developing to our north, and by midnight, anything around our neck of the woods should be making it to the ground. So you can see a few showers southwestern Missouri, and then you can see this little band of snow. It kind of clips our northern counties by Thursday morning. So we could have a light rain-snow mix, especially in our northern counties. If you live on the Kansas or the Oklahoma side, you're mainly going to stay dry as this system pushes through, and this could even drop some light accumulations once you get into central Missouri. Then we just have the clouds through the morning hours, and then by Thursday afternoon we start to clear out, but it's colder. High temps only right around 40, 41 degrees during the afternoon. Also, the winds are going to start to pick up. Not bad tonight, not bad tomorrow. Southerly winds 5 to 15, but once this cold front passes through, look at our wind gusts. They start cranking 30 upwards to 40 miles per hour into Thursday morning, and then will diminish as we go through the daytime hours on Thursday. All right, 65 for us tomorrow, and then only 42 Thursday. Again, that little rain-snow mix Thursday morning, mainly on the Missouri side, and then kind of cold Friday into Saturday, and we start to warm back up. Better rain chances by Monday of next week.
So shorts on Wednesday,
Yeah.
and then breaking the jackets out Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, all over the place.
All right. Well, sounds good. Thank you, Doug.
All righty, bud.
Heavy rain once again pummeled California today. The severe weather is quickly flooding roads and knocking out power throughout the state. Fox Weather's Robert Ray has more.
A powerful storm turned streets into rivers across California, stranding drivers and prompting dozens of water rescues. Thousands of customers are without power.
I have a couple other friends that are hanging out, and we might go get a hotel.
More than 34 million people remained under weather alerts on Tuesday as water overwhelmed highways and swept away vehicles. Along the central California coast, forecasters say more than an inch of rain is falling per hour. The National Guard is deploying to some communities to assist with rescue efforts.
We're capable of going 20 inches into floodwaters before we got to shut our fans off, and then we're able to actually go to the floorboards themselves.
On Monday, the system prompted evacuation orders for thousands, including the entire community of Montecito in Santa Barbara County. The order was handed down just 5 years after a mudslide killed nearly 24 people there.
I just think things are so unstable right now, and it's going to get like the Thomas flow intensity, I think.
I had PTSD from the last one for a couple years, and it's just bringing it all back.
The National Weather Service says over the last few weeks, parts of California have seen rain totals 600% above average. Some fear the soil could become too saturated in the coming days and turn into damaging mudslides.
My biggest concern is just the mudslide. The soil is super saturated, so I'm hoping that it holds and that we don't have any more road closures.
Forecasters are expecting yet another storm on Wednesday to hit this great state of California. In Capitola Beach, Robert Ray, Fox Weather.
Coming up, Bills player Damar Hamlin is back in Buffalo. We'll have the latest on his recovery. Damar Hamlin is back in Buffalo, but his recovery is far from over. Fox News correspondent Alexis McAdams has more on how far the Buffalo Bills safety has come and how far he still has to go.
Bills safety Damar Hamlin is back home in Buffalo being treated at this hospital behind me 1 week after he collapsed in the middle of the football field. He'll still undergo tests here in Buffalo so doctors can figure out exactly why he went into cardiac arrest.
He's up, he's walking around, he's got an amazing, genuine sense of humor, and his family is amazing, and we're happy he's with them. But in terms of any kind of conjecture to his future, that's still significantly into the future, and it's going to be up to Damar and a great team of physicians to help him.
It was just a week ago that Hamlin was sedated and not able to breathe on his own after what looked like a routine hit left the 24-year-old in critical condition. According to the hospital here in Buffalo, Hamlin is now stable and continues to make significant progress. Doctors in Cincinnati say Hamlin was watching Sunday's game from his hospital bed, and this huge play by Nyheim Hines got Hamlin right onto his feet. Hines caught that opening kickoff running 96 yards for a touchdown to give the Bills that early lead. Doctors say at this point it's just too early to know when or if Hamlin will return to the football field. Bills head coach Sean McDermott says he finally had a chance to talk to Hamlin on Monday.
He's just tired but he's seems happy and happy to be back in Buffalo and around some familiar a familiar area to him, and so we're just taking it. And I know he's taking it just one step at a time here.
As Hamlin continues to recover here in Buffalo, the Bills are preparing for their next big game, their first playoff game against the Miami Dolphins, expected to be another emotional game. Reporting in Buffalo, New York, Alexis McAdams, Fox News.
Up next, we'll tell you how you can be the next proud driver of the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. Picture yourself behind the wheel of a 27-foot hot dog. Oscar Mayer is now recruiting the next class of drivers for its iconic Wienermobile. The drivers are called hot doggers, And not only do they get to drive the Wienermobile through 20 states, they get to serve as an Oscar Mayer spokesperson at more than 200 events during the year. Hot doggers also document their journeys on social media. The company says they are looking for graduating college seniors who have an appetite for adventure. Pause. 30 minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. We'll learn about a woman in Joplin who's made a business out of running errands for people. Plus,
President Biden wrapping up a summit with some of America's closest allies, but did they tackle some of their thorniest issues? I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington with the latest on the summit coming up.
a local Joplin woman is doing what she can to support local residents who are limited with transportation. And KOAM Shagun Bomdali has more.
The love of helping people drove Crystal Baker to start a new business running errands.
I love helping people. I've always loved helping people. It's just a passion of mine. I grew up helping my aunts and uncles go grocery shopping, and I've always wanted to do something, be in business for myself, and I decided I would just start doing what I love to do.
Baker took the opportunity in the market where there was none.
When I first decided to do this, there wasn't much of a market for it. But then once COVID started, it became more of a necessity.
A customer who has used the services was surprised at the distance Baker went.
And somebody called me and said, hey, you got to pick this up right now. And there was no way I was going to do it. So I called Crystal and she said, sure, I'll go down there. She had to go to Galena for me.
Jennifer has nothing but praise.
She's multifaceted. She can do anything. So, you know, if I needed to renew my tags, I could call Crystal and she'd go stand at the DAV for me, so I don't have to spend that time doing it. Or if I needed a part from Lowe's, I'm in the middle of a project, she'll run to Lowe's and pick me up.
Reporting in Joplin, Shagun Bamdele, KOAM News.
Baker does not only deliver food, she also drives the elderly to their hospital appointments, Bible study, and bank runs. McDonald County Mustangs fans tonight helped make a student's dreams a reality. Peyton Nally is a senior at McDonald County High School. He has accepted to audition at the Juilliard School, a prestigious performing arts conservatory in New York City. But the trip isn't cheap. So his classmates hosted a fundraiser at tonight's basketball game to raise money for Peyton by selling bowls of chili.
Never imagined it would be this good. Whenever everyone started congratulating me, talking about me, getting interviews and everything, and people wanting to donate, I never expected it. It's such a change. It's so heartwarming.
Peyton's audition is scheduled for next week. Gas prices will likely dip. That's what a spokesperson for AAA says. The organization says though prices went up during the holidays, they have now flattened. Over the weekend, gas prices fell more than 1 cent, bringing the national average to $3.28. The reason for the decrease? Lower demand. According to data from the Energy Information Administration, demand for gas dropped last week after the new year. The Department of Education is proposing lower student loan payments for millions of people. It's part of the Biden administration's plan to change the existing income-driven repayment program. The proposed rule could reduce payments to 40 cents per dollar, saving borrowers some $1,000 per year. It would also pause payments for anyone making less than $30,600 a year. The Biden administration is now seeking feedback from the public. President Biden wraps up what's known as the Three Amigos Summit in Mexico with his North American counterparts. The three leaders have a number of thorny issues to discuss, including the migrant crisis, border security, and stopping the flow of fentanyl across the continent. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard has more from Washington.
President Biden and the First Lady, along with their Mexican and Canadian counterparts, meeting in Mexico City for the final day of the North American Leaders Summit. Nicknamed the Three Amigos Summit, there were handshakes and photo ops, as well as tough issues.
Together, I think we're achieving some really significant things.
Alongside Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, President Biden said the three leaders discussed how to make North America more competitive in the global marketplace, with cheap overseas imports and outsourcing a top concern.
There are tremendous things that we can build on here at home. North America is the largest free trading bloc in the world.
Also discussed migration, drug trafficking, and how to stabilize the southern region. President Biden has been criticized harshly by the right and even some in his own party for his handling of the southern border. He recently announced a new immigration agreement with Mexico that would give a pathway for 30,000 immigrants from Haiti, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua every month, while expelling this same number of illegal migrants to Mexico. Critics say the policies and the president's recent border visit are too little, too late.
It's just another political stunt. It was a photo op. He went down there to empty streets, empty migrant centers.
The White House says President Biden will make a trip to our neighbors up north in March to visit Prime Minister Trudeau. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
A bit later, alarming news from the polar ice caps.
The world's glaciers are vanishing faster than scientists originally thought. I'm Jackie Ibanez with a look at the data, plus one pilot's mission to photograph them before it's all too late. That's straight ahead.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a great one for us today. Temperature is fantastic as we warmed into the mid-60s during the afternoon, almost record highs across the region, which is great. We do have a lot of clouds out there right now, but overall, it looks pretty good. We're going to be pretty calm as we go through the overnight hours. We do have a weak little wave kind of rotating through, and that's what's giving us the clouds. And temperatures kind of all over the place. You can see lower 40s, upper 30s on the Kansas side, and then you warm into lower 50s once you get into southwestern Missouri. You can see a little twist in the clouds, a little upper level low, which is kind of rotating through. Very weak wave, not a big deal. Outside, 7th and range line sitting at 53. Humidity is at 55%. As we go through the rest of the night, we slide back through the lower 40s. So chilly, not near as cold as what we had during the morning hours for us today. All right, outside we do have a batch of clouds kind of pushing through. You can see a few little sprinkles popping up. Those aren't even reaching the ground, but we're going to have these clouds through the overnight hours tonight as this wave works on through. You can see it attaches across the northern parts of the plain, some rain, a little bit of sleet and snow. So behind this, we clear out just a little bit. Then here's our next system, which is going to rotate in late tomorrow night and then into Thursday. So let's go through time. Clouds out tonight, late tonight. Start with a little bit of sunshine. Lower 40s. Clouds thicken once again through the day. Upper 50s to near 60 by noon. As we get into the afternoon, cloudy skies. 59 Nevada, 62 Parsons, Grand Lake sitting at 66. You can see the rain popping up. This will not be reaching the ground. It will evaporate before it hits the ground. As we go into the overnight hours, so here's about midnight, now we get a little band of showers that push through, and these do reach the ground. These push out by about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we're dry. But watch this band of snow. This band of snow kind of rotates south. So here's 5 a.m. So from Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada, maybe as far south as Lamar and Pittsburgh, a band of light snow pushes through over towards Stockton Lake. Here's 7 a.m. on Thursday, and then it's gone. So we could get some light accumulations. I don't really see anything right now in Joplin, but up toward Nevada, Stockton, Fort Scott, you may pick up a ½ an inch to an inch with that band tomorrow night into Thursday morning. Also, it's going to be a little bit windy. The winds start to pick up tomorrow. Then once that front rotates through, look at the wind gusts, 35, 40, 45 miles per hour at times as we go into Thursday. Day planner for you, 42 in the morning, 58 by noon. High right around 64 during the afternoon, so a pretty good day. At least temperature is pretty good. And then sharply colder by Thursday. That little rain snow mix in the morning. 42 on Friday, and then our next bigger system moves in next Monday.
So with those wind gusts picking up, should we expect a trash can warning?
Yeah, we may have to do that tomorrow night. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Doug. Coming up in sports, we'll hear from Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes on the team's bye week to begin the playoffs. Plus, the Carthage boys open up conference play tonight at home against Joplin. Jacob Leonard has those highlights and more next.
Well, the Carthage Tigers are at home tonight, kicking off COC League play against the Joplin Eagles. On the boys' side, Carthage is on a roll right now, entering the night on a 4-game winning streak. Carthage is 7-5 overall this season. On the other side, Joplin is 7-4. Early on, Max Templeman, all the way to the hoop, lays it in to give Carthage their first lead. Now, late in the first, all right drives for Joplin. Floater goes right before the buzzer. Game tied after 1 and tied at halftime. To the third quarter now, Templeman, look at the spin move there and the finish. Other end, Quinn Renfro to Terrence Gibson. Turns and scores. Game is still tied going to the fourth. Tied with about 2 to go, Fred Taylor, patient, then drives and scores. Listen, the game went to overtime and Quinn Renfro hit a shot from beyond half court for Joplin in the final seconds to give the Eagles a 50-48 win. On the girls' game in Carthage, Tigers aim to snap a 4-game skid against Joplin. Carthage wins that one big, 63-33. Kiana Yates scores a game-high 23 points tonight for the Tigers. The Georgia Bulldogs won their second straight football national championship last night. Georgia beat TCU in the title game 65-7, the biggest national championship blowout in college football history. And Georgia is now the first team in the college football playoff era to win back-to-back titles. And they're just the 4th team to be national champs in back-to-back years since 1990. Now, in that game last night, Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett was really good. He accounted for 6 total touchdowns, throwing for 4 and rushing for 2 more.
Stetson speaks for himself. The way he leads, the way he prepares, his mental makeup is such of a quarterback that believes he can make every throw, and what he did tonight was truly amazing. I mean, probably had his best game of his career, in my opinion, with some of the checks he made, some of the decisions he made, just really elite.
Well, this week is the first week of the playoffs in the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs have a bye to begin the postseason after earning the #1 seed in the AFC with a 14-3 overall record. And because they are the 1 seed, the Chiefs will face the lowest seeded team remaining after round 1 this weekend. Now, whoever it is they do play, going to have the odds stacked against them. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid is 21-3 all time following a week off.
He has a great balance of the amount of time he gives guys off and the amount he gets guys in there to get them moving and prepare for that next week. And then obviously the coaches do a great job of game planning. I'm sure this week they'll game plan like 3 or 4 different teams and try to get a good game plan to the guys early in the week so they can execute it at a high level. And then he goes out there and we do what we usually do, man. And so he just has a great feel for the amount of time he gives guys off and the amount of time he has them in the building.
And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
The world's glaciers are disappearing at rates faster than scientists originally predicted. Their melt is helping fuel rising sea levels and increasing the risk of floods. Fox News correspondent Jackie Abinez takes a look at these vanishing beauties, plus one pilot's journey to photograph them before it's too late.
Beautiful and captivating, the world's glaciers are a sight to behold. But a new study published in the journal Science reveals these natural wonders are disappearing faster than researchers originally thought, with scientists now estimating 2/3 of the Earth's glaciers will vanish by the end of the century.
They're being lost in response to climate change.
The data applies to 215,000 land-based glaciers.
What we found was that a lot of the small glaciers, they're simply not large enough and they're in locations that do not allow them to survive these increases in temperature.
But while climate activists call for industrialized nations to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to help curb spiking temperatures, New York native Garrett Fisher is on a mission to photograph these stunning masses of ice so future generations can see what was destroyed.
I use old small aircraft to fly to all of the remaining glaciers that are not in the polar regions.
Using a restored single-engine plane from 1965, Fisher is able to get up close and personal to each glacier.
Photographing with old aircraft that fly slowly and intimately allows a view that is almost questionably to the viewer, may not even appear aerial. It's very personal and relatable as a human.
When it comes to Fisher's mission, while his plane is powered by gas, he says he offsets his carbon footprint by driving a hybrid car and powering his home with hydraulic energy. Jackie Ibanez, Fox News.
Coming up, a sequel is in the works for a horror movie making it big at the box office. That and more Hollywood news next. A killer dancing robot doll plans a return. A Grammy-winning trio sets up a shop in Las Vegas and more. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin with some of the latest news from Hollywood Nation.
Why are you here? Joe Goldberg returns, the Chicks take over Sin City, and Megan plots her second act in the Hollywood Nation.
You should probably run.
Universal's popular AI killer doll may be dancing her way back to the big screen. According to Deadline, a sequel to the hit sci-fi horror Megan is already in the works. The film made a killing at the box office with $45 million worldwide in its opening weekend. The Chicks have booked an extended stay in Las Vegas. The Grammy-winning country music trio announced their first residency titled The Chicks 6 Nights in Vegas. It kicks off May 3rd at Zappos Theater at Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino.
Things are about to get wild.
Rydell High School's original girl gang returns in today's first looks. Paramount Plus released a teaser trailer to Grease, The Rise of the Pink Ladies. The prequel series takes place 4 years before the original film with John Travolta and the late Olivia Newton-John. The 10-episode show debuts April 6th. Did you kill someone? And Netflix dropped the trailer for You Season 4 Part 1. Penn Badgley returns as the obsessive stalker and killer Joe Goldberg, who attempts to escape his dark past by building a new life as a professor across the pond, but finds himself as the target of a killer in London. The show returns February 9th, with Part 2 premiering a month later.
Why does the universe keep doing this to me?
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Well, that's our time for tonight, and thank you guys so much for joining us. But before you go, we'll leave you with a video of gray seals celebrating their 3rd birthdays at the Brookfield Zoo. Be safe, and we'll do this all again tomorrow. See you then.